first in New Glasgow. Earlier in the program, we told you about the trucking sector's eagerness to get more women drivers working in the field. But Canadian business hasn't always been so welcoming to women, or as eager to pay them the same wages as their male counterparts. That brings us to our weekly look back into the CBC archives to 1980, when reporter Carol Jerome took a look at the state of affairs for so-called working women.
In tonight's special report, we'll look at the careers of 3 working women to see just how much progress has really been made during the past decade. While it's true that some women have forged ahead, countless of thousands of others are still forced to fight for a fair wage. The reporter is Carol Jerome.
Susan Leonard is a good example of the progress that's been made. In 1977, she was Canada's first woman account director in the advertising business. Now she's vice president in a large ad agency.
I remember my 3rd day on the job in the early 1970s, the advertising agency had taken me out for lunch. This is when I was a client and working with a large package goods firm in Toronto. And we went to the old Lord Simcoe Hotel, who had a businessman's luncheon on the main floor. And I was asked very politely to leave because this was the businessmen's luncheon. I was irate. I phoned the government to see whether or not they could do this. And in fact, it was completely legal. It was before the discriminatory laws had come into effect.
Her colleagues say they like her and respect her work and have no problem with the idea of a woman in what used to be called a man's job. Ironically, there has been far less improvement in the areas that are still thought of as a woman's job. Salome Tsakonas is a cutter in a textile plant where male shirt cutters make more than female sweater cutters.
Then you take like a janitor who gets more money than a sewing machine operator, and a sewing machine operator of course has more skills, because if she doesn't have the skills, then the clothes are gonna fall off your back. And just because, you know, she's doing a woman job, you know, she gets less money than a janitor.
The 1976 federal legislation guaranteeing equal pay for work of equal value covers only 1 woman in every 10. The rest come under provincial jurisdiction, and the provinces are lagging behind. Eleanor Pellrine of the Women's National Action Committee says that along with employment practices, the most serious problem is still violent crime against women. She says we took one giant step backward 2 weeks ago.
The Supreme Court of Canada, in a unanimous decision, written about by Mr. Justice Laskin, who has been seen by many people as a great civil libertarian, a great hope for civil liberties in Canada, said that any woman may be cross-examined in camera on her sexual history. Any woman victim of a rape or complainant in a rape case may be cross-examined on her sexual history. In fact, Mr. Justice Laskin said that may be cross-examined about her previous sexual misconduct, whatever that means.
Misconduct.
Misconduct. Those were his words.
She says the root of the problem goes all the way back to Adam and Eve.
I suppose women have been suffering a bad rap since the days of Eve. I think we're seen as being the seducers, as the embodiment of evil.
It's that old idea that women are the second sex that still has to be overcome, and that will take time. Susan Leonard says there are still shadows of it in the old boy business networks. And Salome Tsakonas is still fighting the old notion that a woman can fall back on the man around the house. She is the only support of her children. For her, equality is a necessity.
I don't know how much progress we make, but we're trying to change things because it's not fair.
Carol Jerome, CBC News, Toronto.